Hi there, everyone. My name is Christian Eschbach, and welcome to another episode of Confessions of a Domestic Engineer, or as I like to call it, Code. Is actually going to be a reaction video, but the reaction video is going to be reactions to video footage I personally filmed setting up my very first garden around my house 10 years ago. That's right, this footage was actually shot back in 2011. You're going to get to watch the footage. It's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. I've already pre-edited this footage, so I already kind of know what's going on, but I'm reacting to it because that way I can give you a live idea of what was going on or what's going through my head as I'm talking about it. So, here we go. Me reacting to building my own garden. Three, two, one. Bird tweets.
Alright, sorry, I know you can't see my face, but I thought it was more important to see what I was actually doing in the garden. Plus, you don't want to see me profusely sweating. No one needs to see that, really. I feel bad that my family needs to see that. So as you can see, what I've done is I'm using all these stones that I went and quarried at a little river by hand. And I know you're thinking, ew, gross, quarried at a little river, yuck. Okay, you know.
Little River is known for being really gross, nasty, disgusting. It's really not a spot that you want to be in if you don't have to. I mean, it's not horrible. It really isn't. It's just, it's a drainage ditch, basically. It's a glorified drainage ditch. And quarrying these out of there, you know, it's as gross as quarrying rocks out of any other drainage ditch. All right.
You know what? The dirt around here isn't any better, really, it's not. So what I've been doing is hand placing all these into here, trying to line them up, you know. Slight filtration, trying to lose as little dirt as possible. And let me tell you, hand quarrying these has been a bitch. A lot of walking, because I can only carry 2 at a time and I don't have a wheelbarrow, so. And I don't want to use my wagon for it.
One thing I gotta mention, when you watch this video, I have this big thing of screwing around with different accents. I'll play around with like British ones, I'll play around with Australian ones. I'm Canadian. It's just a thing I do. If you listen to Chris Joe Bob, I do Southern accents. I do accents, regional accents. I think they're perfectly fine to do. And, you know, I will do other accents as well. I just tend to stick mainly to the English like accents for the most part, and like I call it the Cheech Marin accent, but you're not going to hear that in here at all. So yeah, back to the video. Oh wait, hold on. I should mention also the wagon. This was a bike trailer that I'm referring to, so it was not designed to hold more than like 80 pounds or something like that. So anyways, yeah, there we go. Moving on.
Because I don't want to ruin my wagon. Only problem I'm running into is I've shifted so much of the clay at this point that I'm running out of clay to use to pack everything in hard. So I gotta start digging it out from the back there. And that's all I do. I dig out the clay, use it to hard pack in the stone. Make everything nice and firm, because really, it's good when it's firm. A little loose is okay, you know, but for the most part, nice and tight, right? Nice and tight. Now, I'm sorry I can't tell you what type of rocks I'm using to do this, because they do look really neat and cool in here. Give it a nice classic rustic kind of feel.
Mineralogist.
But I'm not a mineralogist, so I can't do that, I'm sorry.
Mad botanist.
Not much of a botanist either. This is more of an experiment for me. I haven't had much luck with veggie gardens. I've done cherry tomatoes in the past. I've tried doing some in the house, greenhouse stuff in the past, but never at this place, so my seedlings are the first I've done. Yeah. The fun part about doing this is it's like doing a giant version of Tetris, or I guess a jigsaw puzzle for others. Except, yep, nothing to go by. You just gotta build it yourself. Figure out the puzzle as you go.
Going on about having to place all those rocks and stuff like that, it was the same thing in the new house. You've already seen, if you've watched my previous videos, which hopefully you haven't. If you haven't, you should go back and watch them. That way you'll understand why I'm doing this today. But if you go back and watch the third video in the series, what you're going to see is the rocks in my garden, and I talk about why they're in my garden and where they came from. These are the original rocks in the original garden that I had put them in. These rocks here were when I lived on Meadowbrook, and when I moved from Meadowbrook to where I'm at now, I took the rocks with me. They're great rocks, they really are. Anyways.
By the pieces you picked to put in the puzzle. Who cares? It's all in the name of aesthetics. Screw that. Easier if I put the bigger blocks on the bottom. Oh, check it out. Almost there. I am almost at the end. At this point, the second layer can almost wait. I just want to get this kind of done at the bottom.
Work is a pain in the ass, it really is.
No, it's definitely not right. There we go. So as you can see here, this is the entire side of the fence. I've got the one layer rock almost all the way down, but the problem is every time I go grab these rocks, I can only carry back 2 to 3, sometimes 4 if they're smaller ones, at the absolute most.
When I had built this garden, I had just left working for the evil corporation that I will leave nameless and pixelate their picture for you. And when I left the evil corporation, I was out of work for just a little while, not a huge amount of time, but enough. And I wasn't in the best of shape at the time. I had put on a few pounds, and I had been really lazy. And you will see in footage coming up how much walking I actually had to do when it came to doing all of this. So I was getting a lot of leg work. I mean, a lot of leg work while I was doing this. And a little bit of arm work, too. I mean, most of those rocks were averaging between, we'll say, 5 and 10 pounds. So it's not like I was carrying a ton, but you add it up over a while.
I am a little out of shape. Being laid off and sitting at home all winter didn't help. You know, they're only getting out to walk. You know, I have to do a lot of walking. I can only carry 4 at a time, so I have to walk. Okay, to give you an idea, this is my fence post, alright? I'm going to show you where I have to walk to go get the rocks. Notice that area looks somewhat familiar. That's where I shoot a lot of the Chris Joe Bob stuff when we shot
Although actually,
it out on
Sean and I
location the other
did
day.
shoot some new Chris Joe Bob over
This
there
fence
as well,
right here on
before we moved.
Sorry, I'm doing this freehand. It's a little shaky. Okay, I have to go all the way to that fence because that's the end of the golf course, so I'm not trespassing. I have to go all the way to the end of that fence and then down into Little River to pull those rocks out of
Like a 20-foot
the hill, or out of even the water in some cases. Yep. Every time. And all I can bring back is, you know, like I said, up to 4 rocks. Okay, so here we go. This is pretty much the completed garden. This way. Alright. There you go. And then, you know, you can see it through the back of the fence here. And it goes under there. Here's an interesting thing. Somehow, when they did the work to my house, they got it so my fence goes out.
I lived and rented under Westdale Properties for approximately 15 years. 14 years, and then they switched over to Starlight, I think it was, at the end. Westdale Properties did everything they could to screw up every repair, and regularly were screwing up my gardens. Like, there were actual major fights over some of the stuff they did to my gardens some years. To the point where I almost honestly looked, if I could have honestly afforded a lawyer, there would have been a lawsuit against Westdale Properties for the way I was treated when I rented there. And I was a solid tenant. I didn't pay late. You know, my house was a little loud. You know, that was a bit of a given. But I also had kids in my house, so my house naturally should have been a little loud anyways. I had a really nice garden. My rent was always paid on time until the end. At the end, I was out of... there was a small period where I was out of work and I fell behind a little bit, but I didn't fall behind by more than 2 weeks, I think. Anyways, getting way off topic there. So this was the biggest the garden ever was there, and I slowly shrank it down more and more because they kept doing damage to it. This was the biggest year it ever was. The porch that's going around it, speaking of bad fixes, that porch disintegrated. In the time I lived there, that was brand new. That porch had just been poured that year. By the time I moved out, you would have thought 10 years later, well, I guess it would have been 9 years later, you would have thought that that porch was a solid 20, 30 years old, if not older. It was falling apart and everything. They just screwed up everything with it. Anyways, let's get back to happier stuff. Here's the garden.
Wider than it used to, so it's not straight anymore. I was thinking I might do some extra bricks, probably right in, or blocks, sorry, not bricks. Extra blocks right in there, or not even blocks, rocks, whatever. Put them in there. Find something to fill up in these little gaps here, because I'll lose a lot of soil through there. I don't want to do that. And that's the whole point of the rocks, really, is to help filter from losing so much of the soil. I still have to finish over there. It's slowly getting there. I mean, as I found curved pieces that I liked, they went in there. And then I got the little starts here. That I don't think I'll have to go 2 blocks high. I will in the, definitely high. Down there I'll have to go 2 blocks high. But it's just an extra little extension. No big deal. Yeah, this is pretty much
These
what
lights
it's
here,
going to look like now, except for no.
These lights here, I really like these lights. They looked really nice in the garden. It looked really sharp for about 2 weeks. Then the squirrels started ripping the tops off of them. Yeah, I kid you not. The squirrels were running up to them, they were grabbing them, and they were ripping the tops off. And it wasn't the people, it was the squirrels, because the squirrels were leaving them behind. They were just ripping the tops off and kind of leaving them about. And as much as I was bitching about Westdale, no, I don't believe that they were going through and randomly picking 1 or 2 and doing it once every 2 to 3 days. Anyways, it got to the point where some of them did go missing, some of them got damaged. Eventually, they all ended up lost. For one reason or another. It really sucked because I really did like them. They weren't expensive. They were cheap ones. I don't want to say they were dollar store, but nowadays they would be dollar store. I bought them when I worked at the Evil Corporation because my Evil Corporation sold them. Anyways, so let's get back on the lights here.
No plants. But as you can see, it went too high there. Tried to stack it up as high as possible, get as much dirt up there as possible.
I did get some footage of that.
Need more clay to kind of fill in the gaps in the rock there a little,
outside.
but that's okay. Come around here, all the way up and through here.
That rose bush, I moved
Look at
it
my
with
roses.
me when I moved.
I'm hoping they'll flower this year.
I don't think
Looking quite healthy. Very, very healthy.
those lilies got
My
destroyed.
lilies are just
later
looking
on by
fantastic.
gardeners. Yeah.
Look at that big bush. We got bush. Oh yeah, we got.
Those lilies ended up getting moved to the side of the house. When you see the video footage and it was showing the side of the house, how the bricks stopped, and then you saw dirt on the other side that was going up along the side of the house still. I ended up taking the lilies and moving along the side of the house to try and hide the piss poor job they had done with the side of my house when they refilled it in. They had to do some sealant on my basement. and they didn't fill it back in properly. So I had like this much of the basement still showing above ground. And I personally was trying to fill it in over time. So what I did is I put the lilies there to try and hide it at least. That way it'd be hidden, blah, 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 blah. The morons come through and went over them with a lawnmower. Yep. And this wasn't when they hired out, because they'll say, oh, it's a hired out company we did, and we're sorry, but they did it, blah, 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 blah. Because they did that to me a few years. That wasn't the case that particular year that they mowed my lilies down. The year they mowed my lilies down, it was the assholes that work there that did it. They went out first with the weed whacker, and then they went over with the actual lawnmower. I know, I saw them do it. And they know I saw them do it. They were complete jackasses. Anyways, let's go back.
Bush. Sorry, had to. Might get some more lights, because after all, I mean, they do look nice when they light up. If we can get them for a good price, cheap enough, why not put some more in, right?
No plants in there yet. It looked, I wish I would have had video or photos of how it looked when the whole garden had gone in bloom and was all done up and looked great. It was gorgeous. But I was, at that point, I believe I'd started working again, and I had barely enough time to keep up with the garden because I was the only one in the house that was keeping up with it, and it was a lot of effort.
And then there's veggies round 1, and veggies round 2 is currently incubating upstairs. Just need to get some tomato cages now,
look at
really.
this.
And here we go, now that it's finally stopped raining.
I should point out that at this point here, this is obviously been a time jump. All these videos were taken over the course of, I believe it was 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. I started doing it in the beginning of May, basically, and then I finished doing it by the beginning of June. And what you're seeing here is the beginning of June.
You can see most of the garden's finally done out. Got my cages going. Tomatoes are looking good despite the ruthless and brutal beating they've taken all since they've been out here, man. I mean, I planted them in the ground and they just got absolutely pounded.
I think that was really
absolutely
bad.
pounded. I mean, just beat on and beat on and beat on and beat on ruthlessly. Oh, hello, Mr. Hornets. Go away. Go away. No, no. Fuck off. Fuck off.
They were nuts, you know, those ugly, they're not bumbles.
Evil things.
I love bumbles.
Yes, as you can see, the peppers are going. The cukes, on the other hand, are looking, those two are looking okay. That third little guy there is not looking too good. Where is he? There he is, sorry. That third guy there is not looking too good. They're looking okay, for the most part. And we come over here, you know, they're looking fantastic over on this side. This side's doing good. We just got everything out here, man. It's a little garden wonderland. Still no stalks yet on the lilies.
You gotta wait for the lily stalks.
Getting grass coming out, though. Didn't require grass, but no actual stalks yet. Roses are budding nicely. See if you can get in there and see that a little better.
Rosebud.
See, yeah, I'm getting some nice buds on my roses. Roses and lilies. Oh, inside the tomatoes. The beefsteaks. Examining the beefsteak tomatoes. Beefsteaks. Tomatoes. Look at that. Look at that. Is that some potential floral budding? And you know what floral budding means? Floral budding means fruiting. That is wonderful. And check this out. This makes me excessively happy. Check this out. People say it can't be done in a little home garden. It takes up too much space. Check that out. What's that right there? That's right.
You know what? I'm as much as I'm trying not to laugh my balls off at listening to me making stupid voices, there's a very valid point I'm making here, okay? So when you put cucumbers into an area, you're supposed to give them like a solid 4-foot span to kind of have to themselves. I had taken this batch of, and you usually plant cucumbers in 3s. Not always the third one takes, but you usually plant them in 3s. And this batch of 3 was doing exceptionally well, and it was planted in there, and I had tomatoes in there, and I had peppers in there at the same time, plus the regular rose bush was always there, and the lilies. So theoretically, there were a lot of plants competing for nutrients out of soil. Now, all the dirt in there was fresh. You know, they put in good, fresh mix of soil and whatnot. But these cucumbers defied all expectations, because not only did they grow and do well, the cucumbers, I kid you not, were honestly that long. And yes, I'm talking cucumbers, not zucchini, when I get to this next part. So the cucumbers were like that long, but they were that friggin' wide. I am not joking. They were monstrous cucumbers, biggest cucumbers I have ever seen in my life. And no, they were not zucchini. I hate zucchini. I love cucumber. But I could not get over how big. They were so big that one cucumber would honestly take me and the family a week to get through it. And that was with having regular damn cucumber. I was giving cucumbers away to everybody because of it. My neighbors loved me for, just that summer.
You spread those leaves and you find yourself some cuke under there. Look at that growing. Look at all those cuke growing. Look at them. Look at them. Look at those pretty flowers. The flowers and the cuke. And then we're getting some, it looks like some positive budding over here on the peppers. Look at this. Look at those little buds in there. And in there are some positive growing, I think. Interesting, it's not happening.
Another thing to stop there, the peppers. I always try peppers. I try and I try and I try. I've done well in the past with jalapenos, with all the littler peppers, the hot, spicy littler peppers. I've done really well with those in the past, growing those just in planters. Actual bell peppers themselves, I always have a hard time, or I don't get the yield that I would expect. This year, I find it funny looking at that video footage, and I look at my plants that are in there this year, and I keep worrying about my plants this year and how they don't seem to be doing so well. Compared to that, they're doing exceptional, and they're ahead of schedule.
On the bigger ones. And look at the lilies. Look at all those stalks coming in.
The woman in the background.
Check this out.
Is the X.
On the Romas, we have definite
yes,
floral.
Eventually I will
definite
get
floral
to
on the
the
Romas.
About the X
Oh, and it's so exciting. These are
she
exciting
became an
times we
X.
live in. Exciting times. Look at that. Exciting. Flowers on the tomatoes. I thought flowers on the cucumbers were exciting. Now we've got flowers on the tomatoes. Oh, look at them all. Oh, my little friends, my little friends. Oh, my little friends. Yes, you are so beautiful. Yes, you are. Look at you all. Growing so I may harvest upon your subtle nectars of life. Here's the roses. Got some pretty buds going on there. What do you think? That look pretty?
I should mention, while the roses are up there, I don't like roses generally. I don't. I find them a very boring flower compared to other flowers. The only reason I had this rose bush is when I first moved into Meadowbrook, I moved into one unit. This one unit had all these rose bushes in it. I don't like roses, so I took out all the rose bushes. I gave my mom some of the rose bushes. I took out the rest of them. That was it. Well, the next year, the roses grew back from the root that I didn't know I had left. I had left some root in the ground, and apparently it came back from the root. And I was like, really? I was just absolutely amazed by this. So I ended up keeping the roses for that reason and that reason alone. When I moved from one unit on Meadowbrook to another unit, I moved the roses with me. No problem. They moved. Everything was hunky-dory. Enjoy life. Here we are 10 years later, and my roses, after moving them over last September, they were doing so well when they moved over. Everything was looking great. They went into the winter looking good, nice and green. Come back this year, and I'm hoping to God that, I'm going to leave them. I'm leaving them. But I'm hoping to God it comes back next year, maybe. Maybe I get really lucky, and this year it just goes kind of really stagnant, dead and dormant, and then next year it comes back with a vengeance. It's what I'm hoping for. We don't know.
Pretty to me. That's pretty. Yeah. Oh, the subtle nectars of precious life-giving fruit. Splendiferous.
Oh, Lexi. She's no longer with
And this is my fucking dog. She comes over here and does everything she can to put her ears over her eyes. Look at this.
Yeah,
This
it's
is
my
what she
Lexi
does.
girl. I miss her. She passed away a few years ago, unfortunately, but she spent so much time out there sunbathing. Anyways, that is me looking back on the first garden I installed, and you can see where a lot of what I do, if you watched the previous episode, still is there. Especially jamming a lot of tomatoes into as much of an area as I can. That's where I learned that you could get away with it to a certain degree. Anyways, everybody, thank you very much for watching. Leave me a comment, let me know what you think. Otherwise, hit subscribe. That way you get notifications when I release a new video. Hit share. That's cool. That'd be helpful. Patreon. I haven't done the big pitch in this episode. This episode's running long as is. Leave the pitch out of this one. So just go to Patreon if you can subscribe there. I've got cool videos, or not videos, sorry, cool original music for you to download there. Some poetry is going to be up by the time you watch this, most likely. And yeah, that's that. Otherwise, peace, love, and take care.